Hello and welcome to another episode of the Dauster, TO, and Fanta podcast, the BTF podcast, if you hadn't heard. It is Wednesday, October 27th. My name is Rob Dauster. I am joined today by my two co-hosts, John Fanta, who you can see right now is at the Big E Studios. He's back, baby. And we have Terrence Oglesby, who is wearing a shirt representing the SoCon 100 years.
100 years of SoCon, baby. 100 years of SoCon.
Hey, Fanta, I don't know if you know this. T.O.'s the new scoop master in college basketball.
I didn't mean that. See, here's the problem. I got that information from two very reliable sources, and it may or may not happen. But like at the same time, like I didn't know whether or not I should tweet out the expansion possibilities. But I got it from two very reliable sources, so take it for what you want.
Well, you didn't say it's going to happen. What you said?
No, I said there's
murmurs that this is a possibility of something that can happen. You're not wrong.
Murmurs.
Yeah.
Murmurs. You like the word murmurs. But hey, here's the murmur for people who didn't see it. College of Charleston, Elon, thinking about going back to the SoCon. And there's also whispers of UNC Wilmington that might jump ship as well. So
we have murmurs, we have whispers. Do we have any rumblings? Are there any rumblings right now?
I don't know about rumblings, but there's definitely murmurs.
All right. So
I'm not even sure if I spelled murmurs right, but there's murmurs.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think murmurs and whispers all fall under the chatter category, right? Where if it was rumblings, then it'd be a little bit more than just chatter. So
right, but we heard it from T.O. first.
Yes.
You're in a perfect spot right now in the news breaking business because you've just put out murmurs. But if this turns into rumblings or strong talks, then we did hear it from you first. You could quote tweet anyone who then says there's major rumblings and say, I mean, come on, you could do the security guy in The Last Dance gif of.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, no, you're right. That's it's funny you say that, Fanta, because it once you kind of get into media and you can see the way that a lot of things are phrased, where people are like, there's very specific words that newsbreakers will use when something they think is going to end up happening, but it hasn't actually happened yet and it's not done. Where they say like, this is expected to happen. If you see sources say expected, and you see expects in there, then that's your out. That you could say something changed. But this
don't you love on Twitter when you read like 7 straight tweets of the same person being questionable for the next game? Like not like 1 or 2, like 7 consecutive, and it's like 5 reporters, but then 1 fan site, and then like the team site, and then like you're like, guys, I think we know what's going on.
Yeah, and then you get the tweets where it's like they say X player is expected to be questionable, and they put in parentheses at Adam Schefter to make it seem like they're not just stealing the tweet, but they are just stealing the tweets and the info. It's I don't know why anyone would want to get into this business.
I'm starting to realize how that stuff works.
Well, we're not newsbreakers anymore, guys. We're podcasters. We're officially talent. We're officially content creators at this point. Which brings us to this podcast in this episode. This is going to be the pressing questions, the burning questions, the most important questions, the question marks we have. Lots of questions that we're going to be answering. So this is what the format's going to be. I got a timer on my phone. I have 10 of what the 3 of us, college basketball experts, have determined are the most important questions heading into this season. So we're going to we're experts, T.O. We may not be newsbreakers, but we can be self-proclaimed experts.
There you go.
So we're going to answer each of these 10 questions for 5 minutes. They're what we think are kind of the most important things to figure out as we head into this college basketball season. So I'll start with this, guys. Fanta, I'm going to go to you first. Who is the best team in the Big Ten? And can a league that thrives on play, that is throwback basketball, big guys, throw it down into the post, sometimes you play 2 bigs, et cetera, can teams that play that way in a league that thrives that way have success in March? Go, you're on the clock.
Well, first and foremost, yes. I think in March, there's such a randomness at times to the draw. And so I think that last year's Big Ten struggles in March, that to me is an anomaly. I think that March Madness can go in so many different ways. Who is the best team in the Big Ten? I'm going to bet on Juwan Howard and Michigan as being the best team in the Big Ten because I think for the level that Hunter Dickinson hit as a freshman, I know that Michigan has some key losses, but I just like the makeup of this team. And I think you're in a situation where Eli Brooks is poised to make the next step in his career. I really like Juwan Howard's ability to get players that fit what he wants to do. The fact is, Devontae Jones had to be a scorer at his previous stop, Coastal Carolina. He is going to be a pass-first guard for Michigan. And when you have Jones and Brooks in your backcourt, I think the table is set for some of those newcomers to the fold for Michigan in an outstanding recruiting class to really benefit in their catch-and-shoot opportunities. And I think that Dickinson could be the best player in the country. I really do. I love everything about this kid. I think the game goes to his style, and I trust Juwan Howard, guys. I really have this high trust for Howard. I think he might be, you could argue he's the best hire of any program in the last decade. That's how much I think of Juwan Howard, because he had huge shoes to fill for John Beilein. People had their questions. They had some people didn't know if it would work out. It has worked out, and then some. There's absolutely a case for Purdue, and maybe on paper heading into the season, they are the best team. But I think that when it's all said and done, the Michigan Wolverines are going to be there, because I think that they have the best player in the Big Ten, Dickinson, and I think they've got the coach who I can't see slowing down. His record speaks for itself. I'm going with the Wolverines.
I'm going with Purdue. You for a lot of the reasons that you just said, but I also really trust Matt Painter. I think he's one of the best in the country. And Dauster, Fanta, we've all talked about how good he is in X's and O's and all of those things. But Jaden Ivey, super talented. Travion Williams, obviously, potentially an All-American for them. Then Zach Ivey, who's going to come off the bench. They have size on size on size. But they've been talking about Purdue doesn't have shooting. Brandon Newman's a good player, 8 points a game, close to 40%. Sasha Stefanovic, 9.3, 40% from three. They have guys that can shoot. Are they going to need to shoot it at a higher clip and a little bit? Those two are going to need more volume, but I think Purdue has other guys that could do it as well. As far as can Purdue win in the tournament, I think, like you said, Fanta, there's so much variability and so much craziness that goes on with March Madness. But one thing that you can count on are being able to throw the ball in the post and get an easy bucket when you need to. I think Purdue has that in spades with Williams and Ivey. So give me Purdue and Coach Painter to win the Big Ten.
So I think that you guys are probably right in that it's going to be Michigan and Purdue battling it out. But I'm going to give the case for Illinois just for fun. You can make the argument that Kofi is actually the best returning player in the Big Ten this season. He averaged 17.5 whatever points, 9.5, basically 18 and 10 last season. They bring back Andre Curbelo, who I think is going to be a better fit for the way that this roster is built. They might be the best shooting team in the Big Ten this season, with DeMonte Williams, with the kid coming in from Utah, with Trent Frazier, with Hutcherson, with Jacob Grand. Like, they're going to have a ton of guys that can shoot on the perimeter around Kofi Cockburn and Andre Curbelo running those ball screens. I don't know how you stop them offensively. I think their ceiling is legitimately like number one offensive efficiency team in college basketball. So as long as they are good enough defensively, they're going to be small. As long as they're good enough defensively, I think they got a real shot to win the Big Ten. I kind of think that the team that's going to make the longest run in the tournament, though, is going to end up being Ohio State, because I think with E.J. Liddell and Kyle Young and their ability to kind of play different matchups and different lineups, they got some veteran transfers coming in. I think Justice Suing is better than people realize. Michi Johnson is going to have another year under his belt. Jimmy Sotos is going to be healthy. So I think there's a real argument that they could end up being the team that makes the deepest run in the tournament. Because just for me, I'm always worried about the Big Ten teams that play a certain style in the Big Ten, where that is the only conference in basketball in this country right now that kind of plays that style. So I think that Ohio State can really match up the best with teams nationally.
No way.